Welcome to the new episode of The True Heart of Love. In the last episode, Janet faced a perilous situation when Johnson, a wealthy and ruthless classmate, threatened her after class. Janet boldly refused his advances, but the tension escalated as Johnson's menacing henchmen pursued her across the deserted campus. With Caroline's cryptic warning echoing in her mind, Janet sprinted toward safety, her determination unwavering. Salvation arrived in the form of uniformed officers who apprehended Johnson, but his influential father ensured his release. Now marked by revenge, Janet vows to stay vigilant in this battle against privilege and corruption. The moon silently observes their struggle as Janet clenches her fists, ready for the next chapter. So, sit back and enjoy this new episode of The True Heart of Love.
The job interview. Janet's graduation had been a bittersweet affair, the culmination of years of hard work, yet the beginning of an uncertain journey. As she scoured job listings, her inbox filled with rejections and automated responses. But then, a glimmer of hope, an email from a prestigious company. The HR department had offered her a position, and she felt a surge of pride. Her brilliance had been recognized. Yet, fate had other plans. When she arrived at the company for her first day, she was ushered into a plush office. There, behind an imposing mahogany desk, sat Johnson, the man who had haunted her university days. His smirk was as familiar as the knot of dread in her stomach. "Janet," he drawled, leaning back in his leather chair, "I see you've made it to my domain." She hadn't known he was the senior director. The realization hit her like a punch. Johnson's eyes bore into hers, assessing her with the same disdain he'd worn back then. "Impressive credentials," he said, his tone dripping with mockery. "But let's be clear, you're here because of your name, not your merit." Janet's spine stiffened. She had heard rumors about Johnson's power plays, but this was a direct assault. And then he dropped the bomb, a demand veiled in arrogance. "Sleep with me," he said, leaning forward, "and the job is yours." Her response was swift, fueled by years of resilience. "I'd rather remain jobless," she shot back, "than submit to your cruelty." And so, she walked out of his office, her head held high. Poverty had taught her that integrity was her most valuable possession. She would fight for her place in the corporate world, even if it meant battling entitled men like Johnson. But little did she know that this encounter would shape her path in unexpected ways. The battle lines were drawn, and Janet's determination burned brighter than ever. She is ready to prove that brilliance and integrity could triumph over privilege, even if it meant facing Johnson's wrath head-on. A chance encounter. Andrew's emergence from self-imposed isolation was gradual, like a flower unfurling after a long winter. The weight of betrayal still clung to him, but he sought solace in volunteer work and community events. One night, his friends invited him to a trendy club, pulsing music, dim lights, and a sea of strangers. Andrew hesitated, but something pulled him there. And that's where he noticed her, Janet. She wasn't an artist but a worker, committed and unwavering despite her circumstances. Janet stood near the bar, her eyes scanning the room with quiet intensity. Andrew watched from a distance, captivated by her integrity. He asked his friends about her, and their responses intrigued him. "Janet," they said. "Brilliant, but wary. She dislikes wealthy people." Andrew's curiosity deepened. Why this aversion? What had shaped her perspective? He knew he was different, a man who had once retreated from love, scarred by betrayal. But Janet's resolve fascinated him. She was a puzzle he wanted to solve. And so, he devised a plan, to pretend to be poor, to approach her without the trappings of wealth. Andrew wondered if he could break through her defenses, show her that not all privileged hearts were cruel. Perhaps, in unraveling her past, he'd find a chance encounter that would change both their lives. The club became his stage, and Janet, the enigmatic worker, his muse. As he stepped into character, Andrew wondered if love could bloom in the shadows of pretense.
Can Janet and Andrew find common ground? Their worlds collide, privilege against resilience. Will sparks ignite or flames consume? What if Janet uncovers Andrew's true